This is the Man in a Room podcast.
This is Man in a Room. It is a podcast, You're listening to Man in a Room.
How's it going? I'm back again for another episode. Why not, huh? Right, so as you've probably noticed by the title of this episode, which is called Cancelled, I am going to talk about the cancel culture, because everyone's doing that now, and I figured, you know what, it's time for me to throw my hat in, throw my 2 pence in, or whatever you want to call it, in my opinion. So, first of all, the cancel culture thing is something that's been going around for a while. If you don't know what it is basically a community of people who take it upon themselves to say, for example, J.K. Rowling, everything you've done in the past is now null and void because you have an opinion on the trans community and all that kind of thing. You see, that's what that kind of thing is. It could be about anything, literally about anything. It could be a risque joke you made years ago. It could be literally a whole cacophony of things. And, it's just something that I don't really pay much attention to because mostly it's nonsense. The fact that you could... what it is, more or less, is someone has an opinion, some people don't agree with said opinion, and so they disagree with them so much that they say, right, everybody, no one pay attention to this person anymore because they've said something I don't agree with, and all that kind of stuff. And you could get into the whole debate about freedom of speech and all that kind of stuff if you want, but there's no point. There's absolutely no point, because it goes against it. The problem with the argument of freedom of speech is that everyone wants freedom of speech, but nobody wants to be offended by stuff people says. I don't know the right word for that. People don't want to get offended by what people say, and it's like, well, just calm down, you know. So I'm going to wash away the sins, and I'm going to come clean on some of the things that could potentially get me cancelled in the future, and I'm going to say them out loud now, and I'm going to apologise. And then I'm going to just move on and all that kind of stuff. Because, right, my theory is this. If you're cancelled, you can't be uncancelled. So if I cancel myself now, saves time in the future, you see. Just saves some time. I've been cancelled since August 2020. Okay? Right. So, well, actually probably earlier than that. So I have to admit, I used to do a podcast many, many years ago. I'm not going to tell you what it's called. If you can be asked, go look it up or try and investigate it. But not much of it remains online. But I know what I've said in the past and all that kind of thing. But I will be honest, I used to make jokes about fat people. Now, I want to just clarify something. I've got nothing against fat people and all that kind of stuff. Nothing at all. It used to just be a cheap laugh. That's all it was. Like, oh, let's laugh at them. Ha ha ha. Isn't it funny? And that used to be it. That used to be the entire... That was it. There's never any malice. I never want to make someone feel bad or anything like that. And I'm sorry if I ever did offend anyone by making fun of your weight. Not something I do now. Even back then, like I say, I was never really sort of did it in a... Well, you could argue it was malicious, but, you know, whatever. So I don't do that anymore. I've learned from my mistakes. And so now we can move on. There's probably other things I've said in the past which are probably a little bit on the edgy side, but it was just a joke. Just a joke, bro. Oh, yeah, but that's what they all say. Well, it's true, actually. I mean, half of the stuff that most comedians say now could be borderline like, oh, that's a bit, ooh, you know. But then there are comedians who used to say a lot worse stuff. I mean, as an example, Frankie Boyle used to say some genuinely horrific things. Does he still have a career? Yes. Do you know why? Because he was making a joke and he's fully understood that he was making a joke and didn't believe in all this stuff. I'm not going to go around now trying to, try and protect or defend Bernard Manning, but Bernard Manning used to spout a lot of horrible, hateful things as a joke. He didn't genuinely believe it. At least I don't think so. He may have done, I don't know, actually. I never really looked into it. But, so this thing came up. I got sent this link, and I want to just talk about it because this is absolutely ridiculous. So it reads out, Kindergarten Cop is cancelled, all caps, Arnold Schwarzenegger's 1990 comedy is pulled from film festival for romanticizing over-policing children and is compared to Birth of a Nation. Now, so I had to do a little bit of research. Birth of a Nation is actually like a really horrifically racist film from 1915, basically pro Ku Klux Klan and all that kind of stuff. But it was of the time and all that kind of stuff. I'm not going to defend that because why would I? But comparing Kindergarten Cop to a racist film, like an outwardly, card-carrying racist film, it's a bit over the top, really. It's just, I'm just going to read a little bit from here if I can just, right. The comedy film Kindergarten Cop has been pulled from a film festival after protesters claimed it glorifies police traumatizing children and compared it to the explicitly racist 1915 silent movie Birth of a Nation. Organisers, I've skipped it. I hate technology. But anyway, I've actually just swiped right on an app. It's not even on an app. It's actually just a website. But apparently that counts. Oh my goodness! Right, technology. Organisers of the NW Film Center in Portland, Oregon, announced this week that the 1990 Arnold Schwarzenegger comedy would be pulled from the lineup and replaced with a documentary celebrating the late Rep. Don't know who that is. What that could be. John Lewis. Not no relation to the But basically, in a nutshell, it was filmed around Oregon, and there's protesters saying like it promoted school to prison pipeline and romanticizes over policing. From my understanding, right, it's about this dude, this cop, this crazy military type guy that Arnold Schwarzenegger just seems to do so well, and he has to go undercover at a kindergarten to try and work out some sort of thing, and he ends up softening up and all that kind of stuff. A bunch of unruly kids, so on and so forth. That generic sort of 1990s comedy film that just seemed to just tick boxes and got people to go to the cinema. Because let's face it, nothing was ever on TV back then of any note that made you want to sit down and watch it. And it's just ridiculous to even compare that to such a horrible film. But it has, and so that has now happened. So it's like, okay, surely that's just going over the top. And I think I don't want to say it. I'm not going to say it. I'm not going to say it's PC gone mad, because it isn't PC gone mad. But it's got to the point where I actually had to get myself away from the internet. Like I've recently gone off Twitter permanently. Like I'm not going to come back. There's no point. I just find it I don't know. Twitter just doesn't do anything for me anymore. Facebook, it's all right. It's the same sort of thing, but not as bad. Instagram, I don't really take a lot of photographs. And the thing is, I find these websites are one of the worst ways of basically just, I don't know, perpetuating stupid things like that. And I don't agree with it. So I'm just thought, you know what? I'm off it. So if I'm not on those and I've already cancelled myself, I'm pretty okay. In fact, there's a podcast I've known about for years called Distorted View. And he can't be cancelled because he never was uncancelled. I don't know what the opposite of being cancelled is, but he was never that, whatever that was, if that makes any sense. He's always been under the radar and all that kind of thing, you see. I don't listen to it now, by the way, just to clarify, because even that got a bit too rich for my blood, if I'm honest. But there's nothing against him at all. But, there are certain things which I didn't agree with. Because, it's funny laughing at human stupidity, but when it comes to animal cruelty, that's a bit different. I don't like listening to animal cruelty, and I think even he said in the past that he shouldn't have played the audio, or that the audio that he played was very divisive, and so a lot of people were not happy about what he played. But I won't go into what it was, but it was unpleasant to listen to, and I turned off the episode and didn't listen back to it for a good while. And even when I listened to it back, I skipped a couple of years and I went back again, and he mentioned it again, and I was like, you better not play that again. And he apologized. No, he didn't apologize, but he did actually say that, maybe not the best of ideas to have played that. But anyway, I've got myself my cup of tea here. Let me just have a quick sip of this. So today's cup of tea is brought to you by Twinings. Twinings Cranberry and Raspberry. I'm a big fan of the old berry tea. In fact, I'm trying to track down some blueberry tea because I quite like blueberry tea. I've run out. It's not hard to find. I've just ran out. But I do like an herbal tea. I want to say herbal. It's herbal tea. I like a herbal tea, even though there's no herbs in it. It's just berries, all natural ingredients. On the back here it says, "Oh, just tell me how to make a perfect cup of tea." Now that does annoy me actually when they have a suggestion on how to make the perfect cup of tea. It's like, oh, steep for 3 to 4 minutes and all this kind of stuff. Now the problem with that is that people like different strengths, people like different things altogether. And I just find that very interesting that they say, oh, no, 3 to 4 minutes, no longer. Leave it a little longer if you like it a bit stronger. That rhymes. No, it doesn't. It says leave it a little longer if you prefer a stronger taste. I would have said leave it a little longer if you like it a little stronger. It's all to do with gut instinct, really, isn't it? In fact, I don't know if you know this or not, but if you go to maninaroom.co.uk/recipes, or as I like to pronounce it, recipes, there's some recipes on there, and I actually do point that out because there's a recipe on there for cake. And cake isn't exactly one of those things that is like, oh, just make a cake. You have to do this, like this amount of this weight, this weight. It's all to do with ratios, and that's more or less what recipes are. And the fact that cooking time can differ by how big something is, you see. And so it's like, well, the cake may be done in 20 minutes, it may be done in 30 minutes. Just make sure you don't burn it, keep an eye on it. Use your gut instinct, it's not difficult. And it's the same with tea, really. Although I will say it's best to steep your tea in a teapot, especially if you're just having bog standard normal tea, because it gets all the crap out of the tea bag and leaves it in the teapot rather than inside your guts, and all that kind of stuff. Anyway, I just realised that I haven't done the jingle for this section. Tarot and tea, it's a beverage and divinity. There we go, that's that. So I'm going to shuffle said tarot cards. I've done the teapot already. I hope that's okay. Cranberry and raspberry twinings, lovely jubbly. I'm enjoying that quite a bit actually. Like I said, I do like a good berry tea. I like raspberry is actually my favourite kind of berry actually. Also Matt Berry from Heartbeat. He's one of my favourite types of berry as well. So the tarot, just shuffling the cards, in case you didn't wonder what I was doing while I was chatting about old 1990s TV shows, which funnily enough ran for longer than the actual 60s, which is quite funny. It's a police drama set in the 60s that somehow went for more than 10 years, which doesn't make any sense because that means that the 60s was obviously significantly longer. But, we don't pay attention to that. So we're going to draw 3 cards. So we've got the first card here. We've got the 3 of Swords. That's for the past. So that could mean like love lost or, 3 stabs of the heart. Maybe, basically the card is a heart with 3 swords being stabbed through it, with some clouds, with rain coming down. And I would imagine it's like the 3-pronged attack on your heart. That's in the past. So if you're listening to this right now and you're going through some degree of, heartache, it comes in 3s or has come in 3s. If you've gone through the 3 stabs in the heart with a sword, it's going to be, the Ace of Swords. So what this is going to say, by the way, I don't know anything about tarot. I'm just making this up as I go along. So there's another sword here, and the sword is held aloft by a hand from a cloud. And on top of this sword is a crown with more things dangling from it, such as like berries. I'm going to say juniper berries, why not? And some what appears to be a tuft of grass. So basically it means like, you're holding the sword aloft, like I have the power. I am the king of swords. No, it's not the king of swords, it's the Ace of Swords. And so the swords, but you'll come up on top, because you've got the stabbed in the heart with the swords, and then you're holding up the swords and like, it's fine. Now, like, you're feeling better. I'm the king of the heart stabbing. I don't know. And in the future, the Tower. Now, the Tower is this is for the future. It can mean many things. I don't know what the actual things are, but usually they say bad cards basically mean good things. But I'm saying this tower here, there's a tower that's been struck by lightning, it's on fire, and people are falling from the building like to their deaths, and there's somebody in a crown. So maybe don't rest on your laurels. The laurels that appear on your crown, you will fall out of a tower of it, the castle as it were. And it's not good because you're going to land headfirst into the abyss. So don't get too like cocky, son. Or no, what's that? That is a Star Wars quote, I believe. Don't get cocky, kid. I don't know. I've heard that phrase being said on a video on YouTube once. So I'm assuming that's from Star Wars because it was a bit of a nerdy channel. So there we are. That's the tarot for this week. Hope that helps. I don't think it will, but it's just a bit of fun. Just a bit of fun, just a bit of fun. Because why not? So I'm gonna put them down there. Just place them there. And anyway, I've overrun so much. I need to have a quick. I'll drink the rest of this tea, and I'll get back to you after this very short break.
If you have any thoughts, comments, or questions, please do not hesitate to send them to show@manintheroom.co.uk.
So I need to clear up a few things from the first part, which I've just realised are incorrect. So Matt Berry was never in Heartbeat. He was actually in Toast of London. I meant Nick Berry. Nick Berry, the guy from EastEnders. He played some guy and all that kind of stuff. I also looked up to see a bit more information about Heartbeat. Heartbeat lasted for 18 years, so significantly longer than the 60s. And in fact, it would take you more than a year to watch all the episodes of Heartbeat, because there's 372 episodes if you watch one a day, which obviously no one would do that. I wonder if there's actually somebody out there who's actually watched all of Heartbeat. I wonder if Heartbeat's really been released on DVD. I doubt it. I wouldn't want to own it, but I'm sure there are nutcases out there who would love that. Not me. I'm not one of those people. I'm sorry. Anyway, as I mentioned before in the first part, there are the cancel culture is like a thing, and so I actually found this article like a few weeks back, because what I do now, I do actually put a lot of effort into this show. I don't know if you know this or not. I do put a lot of effort into this. If I find something interesting, I'll just bookmark it, and I'll be like, right, I can talk about the next episode or at some point. So I found this news article. This was from about a week ago. Cancelled at Condé Nast. Entertainment chief is replaced, all caps, after employees uncovered sexist and racist tweets he penned about a decade ago about women being nagging and irrational. So basically what happened was, someone went through this guy's Twitter account over the last 10 years. 10 years they've gone through his archive, and they found the following tweets. And it's funny because, like I say, he's lost his job, or he's been replaced, or whatever you want to call it, allegedly. This is from the Daily Mail, for the following tweets. Now the funny thing is, no, it's not funny, but to get cancelled about tweets for making a joke is one thing, but at least make them funny. Do you know what I mean? So I'm going to read this out. These are the tweets that got him in some hot water. Ready for this? My 2-year-old gets a present for pottying like a big girl. Now she wants presents for all big girl things, like nagging and being irrational. It's not particularly funny, is it? There's either a cat on my flight meowing repeatedly a few rows behind me, or a really horny woman. Millie went up to a Mexican waiter and asked him for paper. Brackets to draw on. He thought she was asking for his papers. Comedy ensued. And it's like, well, it's not actually particularly that funny. I mean, they're not particularly racist. It's not particularly sexist. It's just things that have happened, and he's mentioned. It's 3 tweets as well. It's only 3 tweets, and he's now basically lost his job about it, which is absolutely bonkers. Because like I said in the past, I've said things in the past that are, like I was saying, a little bit over the top and all that kind of stuff. And it's like when people say, oh, I don't know, certain films get like, oh, you can't say that anymore. Because there's an episode of Peep Show. I don't know if you know what Peep Show is, but it's an English comedy, which I absolutely adore. And there's a scene in that where there's this couple, Jez, and I don't know what the woman is called, but they're trying to like be, I don't know what's the word, edgy in their sex life and all that kind of stuff. And so at one point, she asks him to wear blackface, and he's like, well, I don't really feel comfortable doing that because it's a bit weird. And he actually does blackface in the TV show, but it's done in a way, it's like it's supposed to be uncomfortable. And again, not defending blackface whatsoever, but it was there on purpose to make people feel uncomfortable with what was going on. Because Peep Show is one of those shows that is supposed to make you feel uncomfortable. And the woman's making sweet love to him. It's like, we need to break the taboos, Jeremy, and all that kind of stuff. And it's just one of those things, it's not. It wasn't glamorizing it. It was making fun of the whole idea of, how stupid blackface is and all that kind of stuff. And one of the things that is interesting is when certain things that are okay way back when. I mean, there's probably so many things in the past where that are considered racist now, which weren't racist back then. Because I was watching The Good Life on BritBox, and there was an episode of The Good Life. And there are a few times in there when they said something a little bit iffy, but it's the 70s. That was common vernacular and all that kind of stuff. And there's like just a few accents that maybe shouldn't have been put in there. But there's one of the episodes, it said on the front, because bear in mind, The Good Life is one of those sort of like nice, light-hearted shows that never was really too serious and all that kind of thing. And it said, there are racist imagery. I was like, racist imagery? So what happens? Don't tell me that Tom Good dons blackface or something like that. He didn't, right? Turns out that I was getting warned because one of the characters, Margot Ledbetter, is wearing an apron for Robertson's Marmalade. And their mascot is considered racist now. Even though they don't use it so much now, but they used to use it significantly. It's basically a gollywog, which is basically, if you don't know what a gollywog is, maybe look that up. But it's considered racist now, and like I say, it used to be the mascot for Robertson's Marmalade and Jam and all that kind of stuff. And it was just, I was like, what could possibly be? I thought, well, it's just one of those things. If you notice it, you notice it. But if you don't notice it, you wouldn't have paid any attention to it. Because I thought, I don't remember what that was. Because I remember when there's a big uproar recently when Fawlty Towers was cancelled very briefly because there's some racist language in it, and the problem was that I think John Cleese said about like years ago about having that little bit edited out because basically because it's his baby, he wrote it and all that kind of stuff. He needs to he had to give the okay to say yes, you can edit this out because it just makes sense to the story and this kind of stuff. And there's a few scenes in it which are a little bit iffy. But what happened was the unedited episode, which I've got on DVD, because all this stuff has been released on DVD over the years anyway. Basically, there are some racial slurs in it, but they got edited out, and the unedited version got uploaded to Netflix and all that kind of thing. And obviously, people got like, what? And because there was this, a while back, there was about Little Britain getting cancelled and all that kind of stuff. And I remember, obviously, people are outraged by it now, but back then, people used to walk around going like, am I bothered? All that kind of stuff, from Little Britain, all that kind of stuff. And, like, what a liberty. And, all the Little Britain things that got done by the Little Britain people. And also, it's just, it was of the time and all that kind of stuff. I mean, the TV show Gimme, 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 that's one of those shows which even the writer said it would never get made now, and I think he's apologised for some of the stuff that's in there. But the thing with it is that it's not overtly homophobic because the character was gay, but there were certain jokes about homosexuality in there which would be considered risque now, even though like a lot of the humour was fine then, and it's probably fine now. But it's just locker room chat, you see. It's just locker room chat. I'm not going to say that, by the way, that's a joke. Obviously, that's what Donald Trump said about grabbing women by their genitals. It's locker room talk. Didn't actually mean it. But yeah, I need to go before I say something I'm probably going to regret. Because it's one of those topics which is a bit like, oh, what do I do? No, I need to just mention it. I need to talk about it because I'd need to, because I can't ignore it, really. I can't ignore it for any longer. And so, like I've said now, I'm going to have it on my website. Man in the Room, cancelled since August 2020. So that way, I'm done and I'm dusted, so I don't have to worry about being cancelled anymore. So yeah. Anyway, I've waffled on now for significantly longer than I normally do, and I hope you don't mind. Thank you for sticking around if you have stuck around. If you haven't, well, that's fine as well, because you be you. Thanks, Mr. Carr, going past. I will catch you again soon, if that's all right, for more of this. Some more tea, some more tarot, and some more... I got nothing else beginning with T. But I'll be back for that. So then, until then, I'll catch you, later, I suppose.
Who is the man? Where is the room? It's some guy you've never heard of, in a room you've never been in. For more information, head over to maninaroom.co.uk.